Welcome to BBC International News. First I will tell you the news title and then the details.
Great news, Hezbollah attack on Israeli military airbase. Top news, 15,000 children killed in Gaza. Update news, the United States plans to deploy peacekeepers to Gaza after the war.
Listen to the news title so far, now listen to the details.
Hezbollah attack on Israeli military airbase. The Lebanese armed group Hezbollah launched a drone attack on an Israeli Air Force base. The attack was carried out in the lower Galilee region of northern Israel, 35 kilometers from the Lebanese border yesterday evening. In response to this, Israeli forces launched an airstrike on a Hezbollah weapons manufacturing plant in northeastern Lebanon. The Israeli Defense Forces, IDF, confirmed the information about the retaliatory attack on Thursday morning. The extent of the damage caused to Israel's airbase by Hezbollah's attack is being investigated. A large balloon is operated from that base to detect enemy missiles. It is known as Skydu. Hezbollah fired 2 drones carrying explosives at the airport, Israeli forces said. One of them destroyed an Israeli air defense system before it hit the target. Another drone managed to hit the airfield. Since the start of Israel's attack on Gaza on October 7th last year, Hezbollah has launched hundreds of thousands of drone, missile, and rocket attacks in the northern part of the country. Most of these attacks were in border areas. However, they attacked inside Israel for the first time yesterday. Previous attacks were within a maximum of 15 kilometers of the border with Israel. Meanwhile, in response to Hezbollah's attack, the IDF launched an airstrike in the Baalbek area of northeastern Lebanon on Wednesday night. The attack targeted a Hezbollah weapons manufacturing facility. The factory is located about 100 kilometers from the Lebanese border. Hezbollah attacks in Israel have killed 10 civilians since the start of the Gaza conflict. 14 Israeli regular and reservists were killed. At the same time, Israel was also attacked from Syria. However, there were no casualties. On the other hand, Hezbollah said that 298 of its members were killed in Israel's attacks in the last 7 months. Most of them were killed in Lebanon. Some members also lost their lives in Syria. At the same time, Israeli strikes killed 60 members of other Lebanese armed groups. At least 60 civilians were killed in the country's army apart from one. 15,000 children killed in Gaza. More than 15,000 children have been killed by Israeli forces in Palestine. The Palestinian Red Crescent Society reported this information. On October 7th of last year, Israeli forces launched an attack on Gaza. They are still carrying out massive attacks on Gaza and Rafah. Israeli forces are targeting residential buildings and ambulances in Gaza's Jabalia area. On Thursday, the Ministry of Health of Gaza said that 35,272 people were killed in the attack of the Israeli forces in the last 7 months. Most of the dead people are children and women. Apart from this, more than 79,205 people were injured. According to the news agency Reuters, the Israeli army is attacking the center of Jabalia city in northern Gaza with a tank convoy. They have to face Hamas members there. In the south, the Israeli forces did not advance much in the town of Rafah. They are attacking different installations from the same location. The slowness of their campaign has put Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu in serious trouble with the campaign to eradicate Hamas. Israel claims 4 Hamas battalions are now in Rafah with hostages taken during the October 7th attack. However, they have faced pressure from the United States, Europe, and the United Nations not to attack the city. Over 1 million displaced Palestinian civilians have taken refuge in Rafah. However, in the face of Israeli attacks, nearly 6 million Palestinians have left Rafah. Meanwhile, Egypt rejected an Israeli proposal to use the Rafah crossing. Yesterday, Israeli military spokesman Lieutenant Colonel Nadav Shoshani said, "The Rafah operation is still limited to specific targets. The operation is being conducted on the basis of specific intelligence information." Meanwhile, Arab leaders attended a summit in Bahrain yesterday. Representatives of the 22 member countries of the Arab League condemned the Israeli attack on Gaza from the conference. However, no punitive action was taken. The United States plans to deploy peacekeepers to Gaza after the war. The United States plans to deploy an international peacekeeping force in the valley after the ongoing conflict in Gaza, Palestine. The country has offered to supply troops to Egypt, United Arab Emirates, UAE, and Morocco in that force. According to Washington, they want such a step to prevent the rise of Hamas in Gaza after the end of the conflict and to secure the valley. It is said that Egypt, UAE, and Morocco are considering this proposal of the U.S. government. But they have one condition. According to the British media Financial Times, before implementing such a proposal, the country wants 3. The United States officially recognizes Palestine as a state. The report also said that other Arab countries, including Saudi Arabia, have rejected the proposal to add their troops to the peacekeeping force in Gaza. However, they have agreed to the deployment of some form of peacekeeping force in Gaza. Because, at the end of the conflict, there is no alternative force to the position of the Israeli forces in Gaza. The Gaza war has strained the relationship between U.S. universities and arms dealers. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has been opposing the deployment of peacekeepers in Gaza. A Western official told the Financial Times that Israel does not want to talk to anyone about it. And the Arab countries demanded the West to recognize Palestine. But very few countries in the West come close to recognizing this. Meanwhile, despite the offer of troops to Arab countries for peacekeeping forces, it is clear that there will be no U.S. troops in those forces. So it has become difficult for the U.S. to discuss the issue with others. Washington will lead the effort, said an official familiar with the matter. However, much work remains to be done to implement it. Regarding the report of the Financial Times, a spokesperson of the U.S. State Department said that Washington's allies have expressed interest in playing an effective role if the situation is favorable.